Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Cameron May. It's 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on a Monday afternoon. That means it's time to get back to our new series called Getting Started with thinkorswim. If you're new to this platform, this is the place to be. Even if you're a veteran, we're going to have stuff for you as well. But we started off our series last week with an overview of the navigation and some of the tools, but we're getting into a little bit more close examination of those tools, beginning with the Monitor tab today. So we're moving into Lesson 2. And this is really going to address a lot of those questions that one might have when they're new to thinkorswim. Where do I find my positions and how do I keep track of them? That's what we're going to be discussing today. Before we can get to that, though, let me say hello to those who have already chimed in the chats there on YouTube. Hello there, Eva and the Novice Trader, BJ, Dragon Rider, Life in the Fast Lane, Tom. Everybody else, thanks for joining us week after week. Very much appreciate your attendance, your contributions to these discussions. If you're here for the very first time, I want to welcome you as well. And I'd also like to welcome Ken Rose in the chats. He's going to be helping out, answering any questions that I can address just during the natural flow of the presentation. Thanks for having my back there, Ken. But let's get right into it. Very first thing that we need to pause to consider is the risk associated with investing. The information we're presenting here is for general informational purposes only, should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Having success with your paper money account is not a guarantee that you're going to have success with your real funds, as market conditions do change and they can change rapidly. And all investing involves risks, including the risk of loss. All right, so here's where we stand now in this series of lessons. If you missed last week's presentation, you can go check out that archive, but it was about downloading and navigating thinkorswim. Today, we're getting into the row of tabs across the top. We're starting with the Monitor tab. And as I mentioned, this can help the new user of thinkorswim to acquaint themselves with how to track their trades and their orders. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but boy, there's some great tools we're going to be talking about. Then we'll move on to lesson number 3 next week, the Trade tab, and just continue on down the line for the tabs on thinkorswim. All right, so setting the agenda for today, we are going to be exploring the thinkorswim platform navigation. We're going to be discussing thinkorswim trading and investing tools and resources, specifically that Monitor tab. And later in this series, as opportunities present themselves, we're going to be using tools and resources to locate and evaluate example strategy candidates. All right. Now, in order to do any of this, of course, you have to have the thinkorswim web-based software downloaded. Not the web-based software, just the software package downloaded. I showed how to do that last week. Just remember that to download thinkorswim, you can do it on schwab.com or at thinkorswim.com. And it can be used to trade your live accounts or to practice trading using thinkorswim paper money, which is what I'll be demonstrating today. And there really is no need to create a specific user ID and password. You just use your Schwab user ID and password, okay? So let's go to the platform and get acquainted with that Monitor tab. All right, so when you first log into thinkorswim, you will find yourself on what's called the home screen. But the Monitor tab is where we'll go to keep an eye on orders that we placed and positions that we have. Now, last week we introduced you to this left column and the gadgets contained therein. I'm just going to minimize those. We won't need those today. So there's a little arrow right here at the margin separating the left area on thinkorswim from the right. So I'm going to close that off and focus our attention on the Monitor tab. Now, the basic navigation of the Monitor tab is just accomplished using the sub tabs right here. So activity and positions, account statement, their Forex reports, and strategy roller. So we're going to be focusing the bulk of our time on activity and positions, which in my experience, it's just about impossible to use thinkorswim without making at least occasional reference to this portion of the software, okay? We will also take a look at the account statement. Time permitting, we'll dive into the strategy roller, okay? Now, within this activity and positions and on the other functions, on the other sub-tabs, you're going to see over to the right, there are additional functions that we'll explore, okay? But on the activity and positions, this is really your main page for keeping an eye on your orders and your trades. And it's divided into 2 basic hemispheres. You have today's trade activity right up here at the top, and you have position statement right down there at the bottom. So notice today's trade activity. This literally is showing what's happening today, what's current right now. It's not going to show you anything that's historical. All of that will be found on the account statement, which we'll cover in just a few minutes. Okay, so let's acquaint ourselves first of all with today's trade activity. Now you'll notice under that today's trade activity, 4 areas: working orders, filled orders, canceled orders, and rolling strategies. And each of those have a little caret or a little arrow just to the left. Anytime you see that caret or the arrow, it means that you can hide or reveal something. So I'm going to click on that little caret, and it shows me, for example, here are the current working orders that are active within this example paper money account right now. So if you're not familiar with the term working order, this is an order that has been placed but hasn't yet filled. Let's say you placed a buy order for a stock, but it hasn't filled yet. And as a matter of fact, we have an example of that just today. Within this portfolio, I placed a buy order to buy 100 shares of Tesla for a $200 limit. Now, Tesla is trading at $223. We can actually see that in this column titled Mark. That means the market price of Tesla. And I'm asking to pay only $200 for Tesla. Yeah, that order has not filled yet, so it's remaining here in my working orders. Also, we're going to see orders like stop orders that we've placed. So, for example, I have 50 shares of Microsoft on which I've placed a stop order at $340, and I can see the details of that order right here. So that's what a working order means. Now, if all of this is a little bit too much information, we can come right over here to the right, and you see the little double-headed arrows pushing together, pointing together. This means that we can sort of consolidate the information here. Click on that, and you'll see that it summarizes those 2 orders. Okay, they're working orders. One has the order number here, the time that it was placed, and a brief description of what it is. It's an order to buy 100 shares of Tesla at a $200 limit. The next line, sell 500 or 50 shares of Microsoft at a stop of $340. Okay, so that's those working orders. Let's expand that again. And already I would suspect that there are going to be some veteran users of thinkorswim. Be honest here, I can see a lot of my attendees that I've been working with for years now. How many of you didn't know that you could do that little expand and contract right there that we just did? Yeah, there are things that we're all going to pick up on as we go through these discussions. Okay, so that's a working order. Down below that, we also have our filled orders. So to make sure that this was populated with something to look at today, I went and placed some orders today, and they filled. You can see that I placed 4 orders today with 4 fills. So if I want to, I can hide the working orders now and reveal the filled orders. And this shows us when those orders were filled, the execution time, what kind of a trade it was, whether it was a buy or a sell order, the number of contracts with options or shares with stocks, what it did to initiate or to close a position, to open or to close, tells us the symbol, and just more information. I'll let you explore this on your own. I think it's going to be intuitive to a lot of you, but it has these sort of default columns, including the price, the net price that was paid, the order type that was placed. Okay, Eva, yeah, good. You were aware of that little function? Very good. So there's our filled orders. We'll also have canceled orders here. I don't have any orders that have been canceled, but you know what? Let's go up here to our working orders. I want to show you another function. If you have an order in that working orders field and you think, you know what, I don't want that order to fill. I've let it do its work. It didn't get there. Let's just cancel it. To cancel an existing order here on the monitor tab, we don't have to go to the trade tab. We can actually just right-click anywhere on an existing order. Let's cancel this order on Tesla. Right-click, cancel that order. When you right-click on an order on thinkorswim, and with a lot of other functions, it brings up a menu of actions that can be taken. And I'm going to cancel that order of Tesla. So now that we're getting acquainted with how the monitor tab is laid out, where do we now expect to see what was a working order, but is now a canceled order? Well, we can see it right down here. So there's our canceled order. It tells us when we cancel it and all the other details about that order. And then finally, we have something called a rolling strategy. This is going to be more for the options traders in the audience. We'll see if we get to that, but just be aware that's a function within thinkorswim where if we do roll options from time to time, we can actually automate that up in advance, basically. Not wait until the moment that we would like to do the roll, but actually describe to thinkorswim when we would want that roll to occur, and then thinkorswim just executes that at the prescribed moment using what's called the strategy roller. Now, I don't have any of those that have been created right now, but that's what that's referring to. For now, we'll park that. We'll probably come back to it in a future webcast, but just know that that's what that is. These first three are going to be pretty commonly used for just about any user of thinkorswim. Now, down below thinkorswim is our current positions, okay? And before I get to that discussion, I do want to point out, this is something that I showed you last week. I do want to revisit it. Within paper money, this is not going to be a function in your real account because it just can't be done. You can automatically just adjust your paper money account. You know, if you get in here and tinker around a lot and you make a lot of changes and you think, you know what, I want to wipe off those positions. I want to change the available cash in my paper money. Maybe I want more cash. Maybe I want less cash to make it more realistic to maybe a smaller account, something like that. Those kinds of changes can be made right here under adjust account. Now, with each of these customizations, though, with some of them, they are specific to individual accounts. Now, what I'm demonstrating right now is an example IRA account. But when you're on thinkorswim, as we've discussed, you can look at all of your accounts all at once or individual accounts. If you happen to be looking at all accounts, you'll notice that function to adjust an account is not there. So you have to designate which account you're adjusting. So let's make a quick adjustment to our IRA. I can go over here to adjust account. Let's say we want more cash. So we could say, how about we want $200,000 of cash? So we just enter that here. We hit enter on our keyboard and apply, and keep an eye over here on our cash of $33,000. Apply. Oh, now we have $200,000. Okay. So those adjustments can be made. We can adjust the cash balance. We can actually, as we discussed last week, reset the entire set of positions and cash. Not going to do that today, but down below, we can also see our current positions. And you can see I have a few positions here: Apple, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and NVIDIA. And off to the right of these, it's giving us information about each of those positions. For stock positions, we'll see a quantity, plus 100. For options positions, there'll be no quantity unless we click on the little arrow. This is going to reveal that there's more information here. You'll see with my Amazon, for example, I do have 100 shares of stock, but I also have a -1 for an option position. That means that I sold one contract, and it gives me the details of the contract right here. This is a covered call position. So we can see the quantity for our positions. For our options, we can see the number of days till expiration, the trade price. Actually, I don't believe this is a default column. I'll show you how to add those in just a moment. We can see the current mark, or mark on thinkorswim just means the market price of the stock or the option. We can see how much the market price has changed up or down. We can see the PL open, which is our profit or loss since we opened the trade. We can see the PL day, which is our profit or loss just for today. So for example, for those stocks that I just added to the portfolio this morning, you can see that the profit or loss for the day is exactly the same as the open because I just did it today. However, with our Apple position, profit or loss for the day is different than the open because this one was opened some time ago. So I'm getting the total profit or loss here, but just the profit or loss for the day in this PL day column. Now, finally, over to the right, we see BP effect, which is our buying power effect. That's when we place a trade on thinkorswim. Some people use margin. This is an IRA, but margin is when we're borrowing money basically to assist with the execution of the trade. This BP effect will show us how much essentially we're tying up in our own cash within a margin account. Doesn't apply in an IRA, so we just won't look at this, the BP effect. Well, actually, not our own cash, but the margin impact of available margin. Okay, that's the BP effect. So this is sort of the standard layout for thinkorswim, but it is one of the great things about thinkorswim is it's so customizable. We can customize these columns. For example, let's say we wanted to see which sector each of our securities represented. When we see a little gear over here to the upper right or anywhere on thinkorswim, it means that something can be customized. So I'm going to customize our columns here by clicking on that. And how about we come to the left column? This is going to show us the available columns that could be added. These are our current columns: quantity, days, trade price, mark price, net mark change. You can see those right there. So let's add to our current list the sector. So I'm just going to type in sector. I could go down just in alphabetical order down the list and find it that way as well. Let's add that. And now that's going to be displayed as one of our columns. However, I'm going to reposition it. Let's move it up next to let's even move it right up past the quantity. I'm going to position it right next to the symbol. Okay. But wherever we position it here is where it's going to be displayed here among our columns. Anyway, we'll click OK. And you can see now we see our sectors. So these are customizable columns, and that can be really important when, for each trader, they have a different view of what they need to see when they're glancing at their positions on thinkorswim. All right, so that's a pretty good introduction to the thinkorswim monitor tab. So much more that could be done here. And as a matter of fact, there is one more function. Let me show you. Some people like to organize their holdings into what they call groups. So for example, let's say that we wanted to separate our stock positions from our options positions. Lots of different reasons we might do this. We can right click on one of our positions and let's move those to a group, but we don't have any groups yet. I'm going to create a group by selecting add a group, and let's just call this group stocks. Click OK. And there we go. We now have two groups. Now let's right click on one of these options positions, add that to a group, and call that options. There we go. Click OK. So now we have stocks and options, and we can quickly throw the rest in there. Let's move those to a group. Let's move this one to stocks. Let's move this one to stocks and drop that one into options. There we go. So now you can see that we have two groups, and within each group, the columns are individually customizable. And by the way, if your columns start to get crowded, you can actually click between the columns and reposition the width. So if you need more space for any of them, you can do that. Okay. Lois says, how can you get rid of a group? Well, Lois, it's a great question. We'll come over to the little menu icon, 3 dots, 3 dashes, click on that, delete that group. It doesn't delete the holdings within the group. It just gets rid of the title. Okay. So you'll notice now those go back to what's called unallocated. And let's just get rid of the other one as well. There we are. So now we're kind of back to normal. Okay. So let's get into the account statement as well. All of this information that we've discussed is all current information. What about historical information? Well, that's statement information. It's kind of like when you get a statement of things that happened within your portfolio. But remember when we used to do this through the mail, some of us still do. We get a statement about what's transpired in our account. So this is our account statement, and it is very interactive, but be aware, it needs to be, again, designated to an individual account. If we go to all accounts, a lot of the functions here are going to be inert. Let's specify which account we're checking the statement for, and then we can look for a specified number of days back. Let's say I wanted to go back over the last 30 days. Okay, just enter 30, hit enter on my keyboard, but before that, you can also see I could look for a range of dates historically. Maybe I want to look at last year's information or the last 6 months. I could put in specific calendar dates. There is a maximum period it allows more than a year. Okay, so in case you're trying to capture, tax information, something like that. Okay, but we just enter whatever we want, hit enter on our keyboard, and then it's going to give us a statement of broken down in several different ways for that time frame. So the first thing it does is it shows us our cash. Now, it also says sweep vehicle. Basically, think about this as our available cash and the change in our cash balances over the last 30 days. So we had nothing going on for the first 20 of the last 30 days. And then we started trading. So we can see the trades that were placed. We can see the cost for a trade if there was an associated commission. So this is a commission heading right here. We can see the description of the trade right here, and so on. As we look down further within the account statement, we can see order history and trade history. Those almost, to my ear, sound like the same thing. No, there's a difference between an order and a trade. An order means maybe we placed an order to buy and then it didn't fill. Okay. We might still want to see that order even if it didn't execute. A trade is an order that actually filled. Okay. So we can look at our order history for a prescribed time frame. Or if we want to just look for any of these, or let's say we wanted to track the history of what's going on with just Microsoft. Well, we can type in our symbol right up here and limit order history, trade history, all of that just to a specific symbol. Okay. So let's actually crank this back out. Let's delete that, hit enter, showing us the complete order history. You'll see that some are green, some are red. The red means that we received a credit for something. Green means that we paid a debit for something. As we go in on further down below, we can see a summary of just stock positions under equities. We can see options positions here, and we can see profits or losses, and those can be sorted by symbol or overall. But this area of the website is where we'd come to check to see that historical data that's not going to be captured. You know, sometimes we have several positions on a single stock. Let's say we had been in and out of Apple over the course of the last 12 months. What we're going to be seeing on the activity and positions is whatever current Apple trade or order we have right now. Account statement is where we'd go look at those historical trades and orders. All right. Then, of course, down below, we can see an account summary, which we can also see up in the upper left of the left column like we discussed last week. Okay. Guys, this is a quick introduction. Yeah, these Monday webcasts are going to be quick. I think that's appropriate, though, when we're getting acquainted with new software. We want to learn as much as we can, but not too much. Hopefully strike that balance. But hopefully this has been a good introduction to the Monitor tab. We've accomplished what we set out to do, but I do have a suggestion for what you can do next, though. But when we kicked things off, we wanted to explore thinkorswim, the platform navigation. We've discussed trading and investing tools and resources, specifically the Monitor tab. In future webcasts, we'll getting into evaluation of example strategy candidates. But to prepare you for the next week, make sure that you've downloaded thinkorswim desktop and you can practice the navigation of the tools that we discussed today. You can also join a webcast series taught by Connie Hill, same time, but on Tuesdays. It's called Exploring Thinkorswim. That's a great dovetail discussion for today's webcast series. It just goes into a little bit more granular detail on maybe some more advanced functionalities on thinkorswim. And there's a great resource within the thinkorswim platform itself. It's called How to Thinkorswim. I showed you that last week. Let me show you that again. When you're on the Education tab, you can just go right to the Learning Center. Let's go to the home page of the Learning Center. This is where you would find yourself by going to the Learning Center. Right there is the How to Thinkorswim function. Okay? All right. So guys, I do appreciate you giving me your time on a Monday. Hope you're enjoying this webcast series. I really do enjoy teaching this. There's a lot more to learn about thinkorswim. I hope that you'll be joining us in each of our upcoming lessons. But time for me to let you go. Just remember, as you go off, to download thinkorswim if that's your next step, to check out Connie's webcast, or to review that How to Thinkorswim area of the Learning Center. Do remember that risk is real. We use some real examples in today's discussion. It's not a recommendation or endorsement of those securities or those strategies. If you're not following me on X, please do. That's a great resource that not everybody takes advantage of. Go to X, or that it used to be called Twitter. Look for me at Cameron May CS, CS for Charles Schwab. I'm quite active there, but that's where you can get my thoughts in between these webcasts. If you reply to one of my posts on X, I try to reply right back to you. It allows for interactivity that's not always available on at other times. Also, make sure that you're subscribed to our Trader Talks webcast from Schwab Coaching Channel. That's a great place to find the archives for these sessions and to join the live discussions. All right. Thank you, everybody. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Go enjoy the rest of our webcasts. And whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy investing. Bye-bye.